Welcome back to more Quora Quest, where we are on a mission to find some of the worst people and experiences in the world. Ah. Last time we did this, technically last time it was about churches, but last session of streaming this, we talked about worst breakup experiences. So this time, let's go into worst experience you've had in online dating. I've had some bad ones myself. So, this will be fun. What was the most terrible experience you made on a dating website? You Okay, that's a way to ask the question, but oof, only one bad experience. Thank the gods. Someone's polytheistic. I had just broken up with someone who wanted only a warm body to ease her rebound from breaking up with her ex. Bitter. While I wanted more of a committed relationship. Fair. So suffice it to say, I was a bit lonely and looking for someone more on the same page. I reactivated my OkCupid profile pile and resumed the search. So that's the first mistake. Is OkCupid. No date has ever gone well from OkCupid. Tinder, I've heard some okay things. I haven't experienced many good things from Tinder, but OkCupid is a garbage fire. She messaged me, which is a bit out of the ordinary, but hardly a red flag to me. Nope, you're wrong. I was, of course, thrilled. Her profile indicated she spoke a ton of languages, was in a PhD program, and liked motorcycles. She overall seemed like someone brilliant and eccentric. She was also quite attractive and lived very close by. So she is a fake person. She's not. This person does not exist. And if she does, she doesn't need a dating profile. Let's find out though. That's my guess, is that this is fake as heck. Her first message to me: "Why are you so gosh darn beautiful?" Yes, this is fake. So we chat for a while. Dude, she was smart as hell and I was very interested, and phone numbers get exchanged. One cold evening in December, I hunkered down to write a final project due in 18 hours. I pop an Adderall and get to work. Been there as well. Adderall got me through my senior year of college. Do not remember writing my final paper, like my thesis at all. I did it in a night. It was 20 pages long, and it was about why grocery stores need reward programs. It must have been so boring for that teacher to read, but I got my C and I got through the class. That one was, that was bad. 20 pages of why grocery stores should use rewards programs. Ugh. Okay. On one of my breaks, she gives me a call, and we chat, and all of a sudden, she starts questioning me about every tiny detail on my profile in a very accusatory tone. Of course, since I was under the influence of a medical grade stimulant and am an anxious individual at even the best of times, my anxiety spiked, and I had to stop the conversation, apologizing profusely. Maybe you're not the type of person who should be popping Adderall then. But also, if she's questioning, then it sounds like maybe she's had some bad experiences in the past. Um, so she would question like that. But I don't know. Maybe it's not a fake person then, if that's going on. Yeah, but like people lie online. If you're already at the point where you're talking, on the phone and all. Okay. I was not in the best mental state at the time, of course. Maybe I overreacted. Probably. But her response for the next week, she would call me nonstop. My phone would not stop vibrating. She literally kept dialing and redialing as though we were hovering over the phone, as though she were hovering over the phone and waiting for the call to hang up so she could redial again. I had to shut my phone off because every time I blocked her number, it would work for about half a day before she started calling me from a different number. And her last message to me: "Answer and speak or I'll effing kill you. Heart." Yeah, I guess the red flag was of a different sort. Real person, real crazy obsessive person. I've also experienced some of that, and it's not too much love is a thing, especially if it's very fast. Yes, she threatened me and ended it with a heart emoticon. The universe could have the universe could have undergone heat death and collapsed back into a primordial singularity, and I would not. You're an asshole. And I would not have been able to go, nope, 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 enough times to express my feelings about the whole situation. Fortunately, the next time I tried OkCupid, I found a wonderful, loving, and most importantly, non-crazy person with whom we enjoyed a few months of joy and growth before we had to break up because of life circumstances. That's nice. Um, my OkCupid experience before we move on to the next one. At least one of them. I mean, there were a few that was just like, oh, you just completely lied, and yeah, we're gonna walk around this park for a bit, and then we're never gonna see each other again because you took the picture from this angle, the top down. Um, but the one like real date I went on, it was before Christmas. She showed up in a Santa hat. It was like 5 to 7 days before Christmas. It wasn't cute to do, in my opinion. And she was just real boring. Like, we went to a Mexican restaurant, and her best joke of the night was, well, you can't go wrong with tacos. Yeah. Just like that, too. That was her voice. It was once I started judging someone on one thing, everything's available. And she had a shitty voice. You can't control your voice. Don't care. Bad voice. Gross voice. I, at one point during that dinner, I went to the bathroom and I spent 15 minutes just reading a poster on peppers. In the bathroom, they had a poster with a bunch of different pepper varietals. Um, and I read about them, about bell peppers and serranos and poblanos and habanero. It just all peppers on a figure one jalapeno, figure two serrano, figure three whatever, another one, wax pepper, I guess. Um, just to avoid more conversation. It was a nice restaurant too. We went to like a nice Mexican restaurant that I had been to before. So it was like a good dinner, and she wanted the night to keep going, and I was like, "Nah, you can get on the subway." Gave her a Christian side hug, and sent her on her way. And I never saw her again. I'm pretty happy about that. Anyway, what was the worst experience you ever had when using a dating app? I had been on Match for about 6 months. That's a long time to be on Match. I thought they were like, you can get married in a month. When I met someone who in no time made me feel like the only woman in the world, so special that I knew in a month. Ah, there it is. He was the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. He worked in the military, or at least he made me believe he worked for the US Army and that he was stationed in Africa. I wasn't warned or anything. He was so smooth and loving, and naturally, I fell for him. In no time, the money requests started coming in, and I kept on sending like a fool. I've heard of things like this. I can't imagine the catfish working the other direction, but it does. I wasn't warned or anything. That's sad. That's tough. But to keep sending money, don't send people money, especially if you haven't actually met them. If you've only I I'm sorry, but like don't send people money that you meet on the internet at all. It's just like a hard and fast rule that I've adopted, and I would recommend it to you and all of you in the world out there is don't uh, I mean send me money once I have a Patreon, please. Actually, never mind. Fall in love with me. I'm a U.S. Army man stationed in Africa, and I need money so bad because the Army's known for not paying people, and the Army's known for making people pay for their own housing and food. Come on. But think. Like, the logic. I get that love can blind completely. I of course get that. I've been stupid many times in my life. But think, if he works for the Army and he's stationed, if he's like active duty, he doesn't need money. All they're doing is their job, but all they're doing is making money. That's almost always the point. Unless if you're really army pilled and you're like, yeah, for the country. But otherwise, it seems like the point is you trade 4 years and then you walk out and you've got like $150,000 and the ability to get VA loans and stuff and go to school for free. Which, it's sad that we trade that for being in the military, but that seems like the trade that you make. So don't use a little logic. Think about what his story means for how his life would be. How did he need money? I'm sorry this happened to you, is how I'm going to end that. But it could have been avoided. I've been scammed. Like, I can't say. My dad once was convinced he was buying the Brooklyn Bridge from someone in New York back in like the 70s. So he gave this man all his money to buy the Brooklyn Bridge. He fell for like the literal Brooklyn Bridge scam. It's funny. Anyway, so when he passes, that bridge is going to be mine. And I don't know why my dad never changed the name of it, but it's going to be the Gabriel Bridge after this. Okay. So he kept sending money by like a fool. By the time it occurred to me that I had lost almost $250,000, it got up to $250,000 before. How much money did you have to start with? By the time it occurred to me, I'd lost almost $250,000 to someone I never met. If it gets up to over 100,000, and I'm going back to the pharmacy one from two of these ago, of if you watched it or if you're on stream, but if it gets to $100,000 or more, I have less sympathy for you at that point. Like 10K. And I get some people are rich, so the perspectives are different, but 10,000 is like the limit. You should notice by 10,000 that you've wasted that much money, or that that much has been stolen from you, or if you sent that much, $250,000. What a good scam that person pulled is my biggest thing. Is like, and I have glanced at the next sentence and I feel bad now because I was in depressed and almost took my own life, and that's bad, and that's very sad and not good. And I'm sympathetic towards that, but at the same time, $250,000. You set up that person for life. That was a big mistake. That was a continuous big mistake. Thankfully, my therapist there for me, but I had still not healed properly. It wasn't until I got in touch with a legitimate cybersec company called the Cyber Company to try and get money back get back the money I sent to the scammer. Their success was the ray of sunshine I needed to start healing. These scammers are criminals, and firms like them help victims of their crime. Well, it's good that they got caught, I guess. And that you can get the money back, I suppose, but, like, girl, you got up to $250,000 sent to a person who has a stable job. What was the story? What was the possible story that you could have been sold on? That you would... You were in love. You were in love and it was going to be forever, but, like... Man... You must be very wealthy. Anyway. I've been reading Quora answers for about a year and absolutely love it, but I had never participated or posted anything. Today I feel like I've got something worth sharing. I've never shared anything. I purely read these, but it's so good. I had many experiences on dating sites. A few weird situations here and there, the odd catfish, but most of them pretty good. This one is still quite fresh, but it has been by far the worst experience on a dating site, and it has left me sick to my stomach. It's a lot to read, so sit down with a hot cup of tea, or whatever preferred beverage. I have a no cup of coffee, and I have a backwash of seltzer. So I guess that would be my preferred beverage, is a backwash of seltzer. How long is this? Wow. Okay, this is a big one. Buckle in. Here we go. We're going for it, because if it's long, it's hopefully a good story. So I matched with this guy, Jay. Thank you for not using a real name for once. And we had an awesome conversation right away. Great chemistry and all that, and we hit it off pretty quick. Great. He mentioned he has kids, and they would always come first, which is not a problem for me at all. That's big of you, and also understandable of him. I assumed that he wasn't with the mother of his children anymore, as he was working and living 3 hours away from them. I actually found it admirable that he still made time for his kids every week to see them, even though he has a crazy work schedule. All understandable. This guy seems upstanding, things happen, but he's caring about the kids. Great. And he's got a job. I assumed he wasn't with the mother of the children anymore, though. That's a loaded sentence. And I don't trust it. We talked for several weeks through text and phone calls, and he was the sweetest, attentionate, funny. He would send me pictures of him and his kids having fun, and it made my heart melt. My pastime is to paint cute portraits, and he asked me to paint his kids, which I gladly accepted. This is all so adorable and wholesome so far. I can't wait for the other shoe to drop. By then, I was pretty keen to meet him, and when the first date came, I was super happy and excited. It was the cutest date. We played some board games in the car and ate popcorn next to a lake. Talked until late together in the car. Played board games in the car? Is there enough room? What board game? What board? I mean, this is not important to the story at all. I know that, but I'm thinking about the logistics of playing board games in a car. And I'm thinking about, like, a life board. That's pretty big. Was it like Mancala? Because that could work in a car pretty well. Or like just a card game. But if you're trying to play like Catan, that's a lot of pieces, and seats are angled. And you know, there's the little bits. So what board game are we talking here? Is it Mousetrap? There's so many pieces in Mousetrap. I don't think it was Mousetrap in the car. Chess? Checkers? Backgammon? Hi-ho Cheerio? Alright, I'm done. Terraforming Mars? Ticket to Ride? Pandemic? Sorry? Trouble? Okay. While we were talking, his phone was pinging quite a lot, and at one point, he reached to look at the messages, and I didn't mean to glance, but the corner of my eye caught a text message from Princess. The girl in me, of course, was alarmed, but hey, I thought we were only on the first date and we haven't known each other for so long, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt and don't ask questions, otherwise he'll think you're crazy. Foreshadowing. So I shoved that on the back of my head. Shoved that on the back of my head? Like a hat? Or a yarmulke? And continued staying in contact with him. He would take news every day. Take news? And talk about him and what he wanted. Explain to me that there was never any love in his marriage, so that's why it was over now. But he was looking for real love, a connection, someone to be with, but he would always put his kids first. Great. But at this point, he said there was never any love in his marriage, so that's why it was over now. So he has now said it was over. He said how the most important thing for him was honesty and communication. I thought how cool that he's got the vulnerability to talk about this to me. I was quite flattered, and my heart melted further. All right. Too good to be true, I'm guessing. But he seems like a good guy, generally. You know, he's gone through the ringer, and he's out the other side as a more mature adult, ready for a real relationship, it seems like. Also seems like he's saying exactly what she wants to hear. And you know, she's still got that yarmulke on the back of her head, so she got to watch out. Now comes the second date. He asked me if I'd be keen to come up to his place, and even offered to pay for my gas money. I declined the money, but I thought it was really thoughtful of him, so jumped in my car and did the 3-hour trip to see him. That's long, but, you know, we spent a lovely time together, and of course we ended up having sex. It's 3 hours, so, you know. You're going up there for something. You're not going up there for more board games. He seemed quite nervous, and I won't go into details, but there was some malfunction in the system. Well, there's a few ways that could go. I didn't care. I thought it was quite sweet, actually, and guess what? Yes, my heart melted again. Oh, your system's malfunctioning. That's so sweet. I'm not gonna guess. But, you know, if they did end up, but then there was a malfunction, sounds like there was no end for him. But, yeah, it was sweet. I just wanted to give all my TLC to the sweet loving guy that goes through a hard work schedule to provide for his children. Also, I want to say that of all the ones I've read, this person who wrote this is by far the most sympathetic person I've read a thing from. Everything else, I can play some devil's advocate and be like, point out where they had some fault in it. This really seems like, let's see what it is, but it really seems like she is innocent in this and sort of being taken advantage of. So for the first time, we've reached one that I go, oh, that's kind of sad. Oh, hang on, Fixer Upper has a new thing with their back with Bert and Joe. That's the castle. Wow. Might have to get on the Magnolia Network. Anyway, we continue to stay in contact, but what I shoved on the back of my head, not at the back of my head, what are you talking about? Came back. This guy is too good to be true. That's how it's feeling. My gut feeling was telling me that the whole thing smelled fishy and weird. I couldn't forget the princess text, and he actually never mentioned divorce. He would just call the mother of his children the ex. Okay, but if it's like separated without the specific paperwork and whatnot, yeah, that can be a logistical issue, but we're gonna find out that it's terrible. I know that, but you know, if she's the ex and they're actually separated and not emotionally together and not physically together anymore, even if the paperwork says they're still married and they haven't gotten through the whole thing, then that's fair. I think that's fair. Before anything gets too serious with someone, that's got to get taken care of. Like, you can't just leave that on the table of like, hey, I'm still married. Um, but if you haven't gone through with the logistics, but have moved out and are emotionally separate, I don't see a crime yet. Still went back to see him. We went for a walk, and he told me about his upcoming trip to Brazil. Ooh, you know how? Wait. Hang on. What's the capital of Brazil? I forget. How did I forget? What's? Man, I don't want to have to look this up. I'm gonna do it because I want to sell the joke. Oh, it's Brasilia. Okay. Well, let's let's do Rio de Janeiro because that's the one I was thinking of. I didn't realize that Brasilia was the capital. You learn something new. Anyway, what's the population of Rio de Janeiro? About a Brazilian. Thank you. I'm very proud of that. Okay. Still went back to see him. We went for a walk and told him about his upcoming trip to Brazil in a month and a half. And I thought that it was so good for him to get some time for himself for once. We went to the post office to renew his passport and all that stuff. Fun. So they went together, set that up in a month and a half. How long's the trip? Doesn't matter. He opened up about his situation. How he was actually currently in the process of divorcing his wife. I thought that it was very strange he didn't mention that before, but thought that, hey, fair enough, it's a quite difficult subject to talk about. She's very understanding. And it's a little strange that he didn't say it from the beginning just for honesty's sake, but I can see how he would be like, I don't want to ruin the situation by bringing up all the logistical nightmare that is going on in my life. And you don't want to scare a new person off with like, hey, I'm still technically married, but we're working on it. Again, before things get serious, and it seems like this is like, things are just starting to get there, so this is the time to bring it up. It's a now or never thing, but it's definitely the time to bring it up. So far we're still good, in my opinion. When we were back in the car, I had his phone in my hands to choose some music, and bing comes a message from a lovely looking girl from Instagram. Hey babe, I hope you had a good rest. That wasn't his ex-wife. That's not what I this whole time I didn't think that it would be multiple non-ex-wives. I thought it was going to be the ex, but my heart just skipped a beat and I went cold. He noticed and asked what was wrong. What he did wrong, I couldn't get a word out of my mouth. Now, guys, you're probably going to tell me, hey, he never promised you anything, which is true, but I can't help it. I'm a girl. It is imprinted in my genes, I guess, but I just want to be loved and cherished. No, because there are girls that do that kind of thing, and there are guys that do that kind of thing. There are scummy people, and there are people not even scummy. There are people who are more predisposed to sleeping around and not caring about emotions, and there are people that are more predisposed to pursuing an emotional relationship. And I just take umbrage with that because I am of the second category. I am a guy, and I am much more interested in a relationship and finding people than I am with like even within those first few weeks of dating. I am uncomfortable with the thought of like, oh, I'm gonna play the field and see multiple people and see who I like. I'm kind of uncomfortable. I've always been uncomfortable with that. Um, so no, that's. Oh, I hear a meow. We must open the door for the meow. Um, Hello. Yeah, hi. Meow. You want to hang out? Okay, you go away. So yeah, I just want to take that burden off, but also it's like, um, don't you don't have to assign everything to a because of that, especially when it comes to that stuff, because then um it it betrays that that is now, and it's unfortunate because this happens to a lot of people who have been cheated on, but it betrays that that's how you now see the entirety of the sex. Like you see all males as that, and I don't want to be the guy that's like not all men, but um, oh, because a lot of guys are douchebags with this kind of thing. But I know I've never been cheated on myself, but I know a lot of male friends that are like, yeah, the exact same thing but different. Of like, they now can't see the entire female population as anything but scum because they've gotten so used, you know. So it's not a boy girl thing. It's people who don't care about people, or people who make those decisions to cheat, which isn't even always a bad thing. It's kind of a bad thing. Just break up with the person if you're going to cheat on them. But anyway, I'm gonna be done with that. But that's the first thing I've taken any umbrage with is just, and that's lovely that you want it, but it's not. I don't think that's a genetic thing. I think that's a some people thing. Anyway, okay. So when we came home, I was quite emotional. And I told him that okay, he didn't promise anything, and it hasn't been so long we've been dating. But if his thing is to have several girls in his life, great for them, great for him. I'm not there to judge, but it's not my thing, and I don't want to be a part of it. I told him that this message reminded me of a very bad memory from when I found out my first love cheated on me. Okay, so she has a history of it. But also, this is all very fair. She's approaching this from a very fair point. He looked at me, and he was very understanding. He told me he wanted to fix this. He would delete the girls that were talking to him. Sure. Awesome. Okay, so this is the situation of, yeah, he was dating around, but now he likes her, so, and she's brought it up, so it's all good. He's gonna get rid of it. I told him it wasn't my point. If he talks slash is involved with those girls, I can't stop him from doing so, but I can stop myself from seeing him. I, well, it's like, just accept the victory, you know? He said he would delete the girls, so just do it. Just let it happen though if you're uncomfortable with it. Uh, but okay, he looked at me in the eyes and told me how he was someone that wanted just one person in his life and that he was seating next to her right now. Seating next to her. Cool. I wanted to believe him, so I did. He sounded so genuine. Later on in the evening, I still saw a message on the corner of my eye to Princess about a renewal of something, but my stupid ass just ignored it and thought he was probably calling his daughter like this or something. If you are still reading me, we are now close to the end of the story. Thank you for the heads up about that. I was trusting and happy to see him again a couple of weeks later. But like if the person says it to your face and says that they're going to change, then if you feel those emotions, you owe it to yourself to let them try. But it doesn't sound like he actually was going to do anything. Seltzer. And it seems like it's very convenient for him that she lives 3 hours away. It seems like that's a purposeful choice, that like it needs to be a planned thing because it's far enough that there's no popping over. There's no 3 hours is a long time. Okay, so I did. And when I came over, he wasn't there, but he had left the door open for me. Great. He was still working at some friends, so he wouldn't be back for about 3 hours. Why didn't you leave until then? So then you could get there at the same point. It doesn't matter, but like, just I wouldn't want to just hang around his apartment for 3 hours and just like, oh, what am I gonna do? Just busy yourself at home and then travel. Whatever. I made myself comfortable, went to take something in the fridge, and then I saw on his calendar only a month and a half until I can see C. Right away, all the dots connected. We girls are pretty nifty at finding out who is who. Okay, come on. It's not, again, it's not a whatever. I can't. But it's like, no, all the dots connected because all the dots were in front of you and connecting. It wasn't because you were like, girls are so clever at that. No, it's just there was evidence in front of you and you put it together because you possess logic as a human. And you've already been on edge about this and seen so many things. So like, and it was fairly easy to find out that C lives in Brazil and is the one that sent the "Hey babe, I hope you had a good rest" message. I mean, no, I mean, that sucks. That sucks. Bad. This is the only thing I don't like about you, is that you keep. Don't make it about a boy girl thing. You just don't have to. The only things that are emotions don't just belong to girls. And figuring things out that doesn't just belong to girls. They might be more. No, you were just cheated on, so you were more aware of it. Like, and that's like I've said, I've seen it in both ways. So yeah, come on. Of course, he lives in Brazil. Anyway, and oh, what, you pieced together that it said only a month and a half until I can see C, and then you went, oh, that's when he's going to Brazil. All the connections, like freaking Charlie Day with the board. Like, it all makes sense now. Anyway, you're giving yourself too much credit for being pretty nifty. Still sucks. Still very sympathetic. Not playing devil's advocate at all. Very much on your side. Calm down with the boy girl stuff. I'm also pretty sure that she was the princess contact on his phone. They were talking about the passport renewal. Funny enough, she looks like a more beautiful version of myself. That sucks. That's oh, that's gotta sting. Funny enough. Oh. I was extremely disappointed, so sent him a message to tell him I saw the calendar and connected all the dots and that I understood he was going to see someone important to him in Brazil, but I was sorry I couldn't go further in this, as I've been quite clear that it's not my thing to share. Yeah, I feel bad for you. Um, Especially if he has a type and you are the less attractive type. Don't put yourself down. You're probably great. You're probably great. I was packing my stuff back and searching for a hotel room when he answered back. He told me I was right, and he was sorry he had been selfish, but we could remain friends if I wanted. Then something about how I deserved better and whatnot. I mean, yeah, dude, you're a jerk. That's all there is to it. And it's just to offer friendship is almost scuzzier, in my opinion. I'm a fan of burned bridges when it comes to relationships because that seems to be how it goes anyway, and maybe that's a me thing that I can't keep being friends with someone after that level of intimacy. Um, but I think it's never just friends at that point. Like you can't really dial it back, can you? Maybe after like a year, 2 years of no contact and then reconnecting, but with that very like, you know, arm's length, let's go out for coffee and catch up, but not out for drinks or out for dinner, or, you know, um, and to her point, I didn't answer back. I thought, how can I be friends with someone that lied with such ease? And if he lied about this, maybe he's lying about the divorce. I don't want to be friends. Yeah, that's really mean. That's really inconsiderate to offer that. That's really selfish of him, actually, because it seems like that's just for him. Or maybe, you never know. Maybe he is. Maybe he feels so guilty that he's like, well, I can give her this. I can give her my friendship. That's a little like, that's a little bit of a power trip still. Still using people and just to make you feel better. So, nah, the respectful thing is to go, all right, I burned this bridge. It's done. Sorry. Bye. Uh, in my opinion. I mean, over the course of many hours, that's a conversation that has to be like at least a good hour for a breakup, I think. Oh, this is like the fourth time that she saw him in real life. But he lived 3 hours away. He wants women that it's hard for them to reach, or like he has to go to Brazil. He's got this planned. I went up in the room to gather the rest of my stuff and noticed the envelope that I envelope that I used to give him the paint. Okay, the envelope that I used to give him the painting I did for him. Inside was the painting, along with a picture of him and his wife. That's also interesting. That's weird. Inside was the painting along with a picture of him and his wife. I took the painting and thought that I didn't want my art to be part of this guy's life, so ripped it, threw it in the bin, and left. Yeah, I mean, if it's a painting of him, I was just gonna say maybe keep it, and you never know, that might get you into a gallery. But no, that's fair. That's fair. You deserve to tear up your own art. I was sick to my stomach and so angry with myself for ignoring my gut feelings. You don't have to be that hard on yourself, but because it seems like this guy was really playing it, so you don't have to be that hard on yourself. But it's sad and it's hard not to feel that way. You guys will probably no stop telling me you guys. I'm not gonna say anything. Will probably tell me that you saw it coming from the beginning. Well, that's because you wrote it that way. You wrote it with so much foreshadowing that, of course, we saw it coming from the beginning. But no, I think in the situation, given the circumstances, I might be wary of something, but I definitely wouldn't be like, ah, yeah, that's from the beginning. I saw that coming. Um, yeah, but the princess thing is a little. But if he had daughters, then he could have been texting her daughter. That's honestly where my mind went. Was um, that he probably had princess in his phone for one of his daughters, but nah, it turns out it was a Brazilian chica. So you guys, because guys will tell you what for, as the guys do. I know she's using you guys colloquially, but I'm just upset about earlier. I reckon I did it as well, but I'm an expert at giving the benefit of the doubt. He was so lovely, cute, and huggable, and gave me the perfect performance of this sweet, vulnerable, unsure about his looks, self-conscious, and hard-working guy. I just wanted it to work. If you read me till the end, thank you. It feels good to takes a weight off my chef. Gotta work on red flag busting now. What does that mean? Red flag busting? Like seeing red flags and busting through? Anyway, that's an intense one. Oh, we have a bear trap. Ooh, top 3. All right. Nice. Okay, we'll move on to this, but I want to. Oh, there's nothing really to parse here. She believed he wanted to keep his thing going with the Brazilian girl. They had already done the passport. It's weird that he had her renew the passport with her. I mean, talking about Brazil is one thing, but But I don't know. Even then, I mean, you can't hide it that you're going to go to Brazil. But geez, this guy did not do a good job of this, because in our funeral episode, we saw a lot of guys who managed to keep their adultery and second and third relationships completely secret for their entire lives until they were dead, until they were actually like, you know, where the people like can only get mad at a corpse. So this guy, not good at that. How how do you leave so much evidence in your place and know that a person's coming and go, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, she won't figure it out. He wanted to get caught. Maybe. I don't know. I don't trust him. All right. But I only saw it coming from the beginning because of the foreshadowing, so. What was the most terrible experience you had made on a dating website? I'll give you my top 3, and you can have the second and third as a bonus. I'll also tell you the rules they created. Rules you should also follow. Wow, we got a whole guide here. Okay. Third worst. Why? Is it 'cause I drink too much? You or the Okay. Also this bear trap. I'm very curious about this bear trap. Okay. Connected with women on plenty of failure. That's a plenty as opposed to plenty of fish. Anyway, she just had one headshot that looked a bit like it was out of Mad Men. Attractive. That says a lot about you that you. I never found anything in Mad Men attractive. It was all. Like, it's all about the chauvinism of the 50s and 60s. So it's like. I never found any of Mad Men to be. I mean, interesting. But as far as like the attraction and the suave and the this and the that, it was like. Nah, that I am not. I'm actually paying attention to the story. I'm not just looking at the people. Anyway. Oh, wow, they're in suits and they're drinking all day long. Yeah, it's so classy. Our first meeting was canceled while I was in the parking lot as something had come up. I immediately called my kids and said that we were going out to dinner. I really wanted Italian food and they were going to have leftovers that night. They were happily on board with me dating. Fantastic. Got multiple messages that she wanted to meet again, which was a very inefficient way to blow someone off and not meet them. I agreed to the next day, and when I saw her and she said my name, what? And when I saw her, and she said my name, I wanted to look behind me and say, oh no, I'm Brian. I'm here to meet a friend. But since I'm not too bright, I agreed that it was indeed me and sat through a beer while she had a couple Bloody Marys. Okay. Like, what's... Anyway, this guy's bitter, and that's understandable. But that was a confusing sentence. Anyway, she showed up, and he was like, he should have lied to get out of the date. He didn't lie. So, got through it. She was 15 years older and 50 pounds heavier at least. What is your weight? Because that could be between, like, you know, no matter what, she does sound heavy set. Which in dating is one of the few times that can make a difference. Because if you're not attracted to a person, then you know, that's one of the first things. But I would love to know your weight so that I can know if you're skinny and she's a little chubby, or if you are average and she's huge, or if you're big and she's like massive. So it's just a difference of perspective for my own image in my head. But a surprise. We'll call her a surprise for him. She swung her polyester-clad legs back and forth, swinging her gnarled toes at me like a scorpion, threatens with its stinger, all the while sipping on her straw. That paints quite the image. What did this person do to you? I mean, why were her toes out? She must have been in like high heels or something with toes showing. But when we were all done, I said, "So I think you're nice, but I don't think we're a match." She countered immediately. Why? Is it because I drink too much? No, but red flag added. Good to know, I thought. Yeah, I mean, that's. That works. I changed the subject and parted ways. Well, that's fair. Rules created by this experience. I don't date disembodied heads. Yeah, that's one that I've learned. Must have full body pic. Yeah. Decide to meet again after date, not during. Less discomfort for both parties, unless the two of us are obviously seriously smitten. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't necessary for him to let her down right then. You can have a nice time, separate, get back to messaging, and go. Like that's what I've done when it's been like really obviously a bad date, like the Mexican restaurant. You know, you give the side hug, you show with body language that you're not interested, but you don't say that, and then once you're apart, that's when you go, "Hey, sorry, I don't think it's working out. I don't think this is for me." Uh, so yeah, these are good rules, and you learn them very quickly. Because again, it's the lie of it more than anything else. Because it's like I wouldn't have started talking with someone if I knew I wasn't attracted to them. Not, I gotta say, I used to be 260 pounds. I used to be very big myself, and not very big, but like husky. Husky was probably the best term for it. Um, so it's like even then I wasn't much to my. I had a wider perspective then, and a lot of times it'd be like, oh, it's still such a lie, such a lie. That's more what it is. That it feels like you've been betrayed from the instant, and it's like, why did you think this would work? What did you think would happen? Although it's nice to live in the fantasy, I guess. Anyway, second worst. My first and only blind date, recommended by a friend of mine. Never been on a blind date. That I've always thought would be fun, but I've never had friends with females that they wouldn't date first. Okay. Well, she used to be a friend of mine. She was someone who was definitely not my type, but I sat through a cup of coffee. She went on and on about how she was a teacher, how it was so stressful, and so forth. She then talked about her ex repeatedly. Both of those are bad date conversations. With the Mexican restaurant date, after her "can't go wrong with tacos" line, she did nothing but complain about her job at McDonald's for like 30 minutes. It was like for most of the dinner. And it was honestly insufferable because it was like I'm trying to at least have fun here. I'm at least trying to have a good time, and I promise you, just listening to you complain with no connections or insights or like or unique perspectives on it, just purely like, it's so shitty working at McDonald's because you gotta be over the fryer and people come in and they're so pushy and really want their food. It's like, oh my god, I can't. It's dragging nails. It was a long 30 minutes. Like the whole meal was probably an hour, and it was a long hour. 15 minutes of it in the bathroom staring at peppers. Anyway, she then talked about her ex repeatedly, also not smart. After suffering through the date, about 2 months later, she was in the news as a sexual predator. She apparently was messing around with a 14-year-old boy from her school. And yes, this person was recommended to me by a friend. Well, you can't blame the friend. You can't blame the friend for that. The friend doesn't know that she's doing things with a 14-year-old boy as a teacher. Like, you can't. She used to be a friend of mine. You don't know that the friend. This seemed like a bad day for the teacher. It also seems like some bad stuff happened after this, and she made some really, really bad choices that are not okay. Um, but don't blame the friend. How would a friend know that was going to happen? That's, you're. I think you have decent points and a fine way of going about it, but it's like you're taking this all so personally. You're taking it all very personally. Anyway, rules created by this experience: be positive. If you can't be positive on the first date, it's not going to get any better. Yeah, like that for sure. Don't talk about your ex on the first date. Blind dates are a bad idea. Point 4: never trust my former friend who is not a friend anymore. But yeah, positivity on a first date makes a big difference as opposed to just haranguing someone with your issues on life. Worst. So, what are you doing, person? I don't want to say the name even if you can read it. Connected with a woman on OkCupid. Was an outdoorsy type. Had pictures of her all muddy and doing outdoor stuff. Not hugely my type, but I'm open-minded and don't completely judge on pics. That sounds fun. Honestly, you sound like not fun. Outdoors is nice. Indoors is nice. I enjoy this, but like out there is not bad either. I mean, right now it's cold. It's winter, but I went on a nice bike ride the other day, so outdoorsy is pretty nice. All muddy's more, but even then, rarely do you get all muddy and it's a bad time. Sometimes you get all muddy and it's a bad time if you like fall into mud. But if you're doing a physical activity and happen to get muddy as part of it, you're probably having a decent time. It's like ATVing or whatever. Okay. She said she was in final stage of divorce, was already separated, just waiting for finalization in a month. We have heard things like this before. I said in our messages, okay, but I don't want your husband showing up with a shotgun saying, "Get away from my wife." She laughed and said that everything was cool. You're a charmer. Decided to meet up at a park for a walk. You're a real charm. I mean, that's fair. It's okay. It's a funny way to say something that is true. Except it's not that funny. But it's a humorous way of saying something that should be said before they meet up. Fair. Met up at a park. We don't need to know what she was wearing, but okay. She was wearing a little pencil skirt, pretty nails, and cleaned up very nicely. I was impressed. A little weird. Pretty nails. You notice the nails? That's the sign of a serial killer. I'm just gonna say it. If a man notices a woman's nails, they're probably a serial killer because they're collecting those nails from their victims. Anyway, I'm doing the same thing that the last person did as far as men women thing, but like that's a weird. You didn't need to say all that. Any of that. That's weird. Whatever. Just after I hugged her hello, a pickup truck drove past, made a U-turn, and parked in front of our little parking spot. He took out a phone and started recording in our general direction. He was about 20 feet away. Thinking this was rude, and being the filterless... Yeah, you are, aren't you? The flighterless. Being the filterless person I am, I pointed to him and said, "Hey, that guy's recording something!" She didn't react the way I expected and rolled her eyes, and I asked, "Do you know him?" She said, "Yeah, that's my husband." Okay, but she had her chance to be like, "Yeah, he's a little obsessive." So, um, yeah, that's a surprise. Because he said, like, don't that would be weird. He's like, this would be weird for me if I meet your husband, basically. And she was like, yeah, don't worry about it. And now immediately they're getting recorded. Um, Seeing the obvious confusion in her eyes, she said something that would make me want to run home and shower. Being someone who does the right thing, even when it's the difficult thing, even when it is painful, hearing her response made me feel horrible. Well, you knew I was married, but no, no, like it's. So this is the opposite of what I was talking about earlier. Of like, it's okay if the separation is real and legitimate and emotionally there for everyone. And if it's not, if this kind of obsessive stuff is happening, you need to be upfront about that. You can't just hide that and be like, you knew I was married. What did you expect? Not to get recorded and berated from a truck? So here's the part where he berates. He rolled down the window more and shouted, "What are you doing, Julie?" She then said, "I better go talk to him," and approached the pickup. As she approached, he yelled towards me, "Did you meet her on a dating site?" I told her the truth, as I do, and shouted, "Yes." He said, "Are you name?" I shook my head. "Are you other name?" Oh, he's got stars for their fake. "Are you Bill Fugason?" I shook my head. "Are you Phil Hammerstein?" Again, I shook my head. "What's your name?" I didn't answer the man who probably in high school had one most likely to kill efficiently with an axe. Okay, that one was a little funny. Kill efficiently with an axe. If you didn't include the efficiently, it would have been funny. Or if it was just most likely to be an axe murderer. But that's a bit extra. But that was clever, I guess. I decided to ask my own question. Is she married? I waited for an answer as the passenger window went up and down nervously as Julie approached the truck. He looked like he hadn't slept in a while. The question was designed to see who was the issue here, and he didn't answer at first, as he was busy juggling the phone and struggling with the window. He was half closing it to seal her off and open it because he wanted to film, I presume. This man's crazy. She does need to get away from him, I think, but also she's still going to talk to him and stuff. I repeated the question because if he said yes, then I would just leave and feel slightly better, as he is in fact her husband. If he said no, then he was admitting that he was being crazy and didn't belong here. Finally, defeatedly, he said, "Yes." I could hear the subconscious, but not for long. We're in the middle of a divorce. I felt bad for him as he immediately decided to drive up the street and park. "I better go talk to him," she said to me. I smiled and said, "Well, this is really weird. I think this concludes our business." With that, I drove off and looked into my rear view mirror the entire time home. Oddly enough, I yeah, that's your right to make that choice. Um, yeah, that's your right to make that choice to get yourself out of this very weird situation, especially if she keeps choosing to go talk to him as opposed to shouting from across the parking lot, "Go away, Jorny. Get out of here. Why are you? You know we're ending. You're not a part of my life anymore, Jorny. I can date whoever I want." That's different from a lot of "I better go talk to him," of like that's almost making excuses for him. So it's yeah, you have the right to do this. I think this guy might cut and run a little quickly and easily. Um, but all his points are valid, I think. Okay. Oddly enough, she called me and apologized. "Rules created by this experience must be divorced, must have been divorced for at least a year. I cannot be your first relationship after getting a divorce." See, that's where these rules to me are the first few make sense. Like the ones from the previous ones. This one's must be divorced, sure. The other ones are a little more, but whatever. There are a lot more. All because I put a huge amount of effort into finding the right person, as it's just a numbers game and you have to, stupidly, put yourself out there. Gross. I had the worst date of 2020 recently. Honestly, I thought it was all done with these. I was all done with these bizarre dates. I guess just one an entire year is much better. If people are interested and I hit 100 upvotes, I will tell you the painful story. Really, just milking for it. That's gross to be milking for it. I think this guy's too selective, and I think he can't see the issues in his own self and doesn't give people a chance to be human. Is my opinion. But also, I'm sure, red flags are red flags. So yeah, if I hit 100 upvotes on this, I'm going to post more of these. We're not doing another Quora Quest until I hit 2,000 likes on this. So you better start liking and subscribing so I can tell you the painful story. Oh, it's so painful. Oh, woe is me. You better upvote me. All right. Hey, YouTube, like and subscribe and comment. The grossest state you've been on. Uh, Even better, the grossest thing you've seen someone do at a meal. It's has nothing to do with dating, but um, I once saw a kid drop a quarter into some salsa and like rub it around and then still eat the salsa. And yeah, I can't look at like change since then has been disgusting to me. Yeah. All right, bye. Thanks for watching.